Welcome everyone, this is your math tutor Naresh. In this video we're going to look at the order of operations and also substitution. Let's get started. The order of operations. So we use what's known as BEDMAS. So B is for brackets. Actually, I'm going to write it vertically. So BEDMAS. So B is for brackets. E is for exponents. D is for division. M is for multiplication. A for addition, and S for subtraction. So first we do brackets, then we do exponents, and then division and multiplication. So they go together, they're hand in hand. So we do that those operations, and then lastly we do addition and subtraction, and again they go together, addition and subtraction. So BEDMAS, so that's the acronym. And that's the order of operations when we do simplifications. So I'm going to write this over here, BEDMAS. So I'll circle, group together division and multiplication, and addition and subtraction. Alright, so we'll do one example to understand the concept. So here we're given a question like this. So 2 times 6 minus 2 in brackets minus 3 over 4 times -2 cubed. So the question would say simplify or evaluate this expression. So when we evaluate this, we have to remember our order of operations. And order of operations is BEDMAS. We do brackets and exponents first, followed by division and multiplication, and lastly addition and subtraction. So here, to simplify, the first thing we want to do is deal with the brackets, right? So we have a bracket here, and then we have a bracket here, but there's really nothing inside the bracket other than -2. So and then it's got an exponent on the top. So let's follow our order of operations. So first we want to do brackets. So let's simplify this bracket. So that means we copy everything else as is for now. So copy 2. So what's 6 take away 2? That's 4. So we've dealt with this bracket. Then we go minus 3 over 4 times. So there's nothing for me to collect or simplify inside the bracket. Then the next is the exponent. So I'm going to copy this as is, because first I want to deal with the brackets. I've done that. And now at the next step, I will deal with the exponent. Alright, so the exponent portion is right here. So this becomes, so copy everything else as is. So 2 times 4 minus 3 over 4. Now, what is -2 raised to the exponent 3? -2 cubed. So we know that. So -2 times -2 times -2. So negative times negative is positive, times negative is negative. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8. So that's -8. So -8. So there you go. We have now dealt with the exponent. So we've dealt with the exponent. And now we will deal with any division and multiplication that may exist. So here we have multiplication, right? We're multiplying 2 and the 4, and this is also a multiplication. And in the middle, the two terms are connected by a subtraction. So let's do our division or multiplication. So division and multiplication can be done together at the same time. Okay, so what's 2 times 4? That's 8. And now here I've got multiplication and I also got division, right? Because 8 divided by 4 So I could write this as a fraction, so negative 8 over 1, and I can reduce. So okay, let's actually reduce. So I'll use a different color. So 4 goes into itself once, and the same 4 goes into this 8 twice, right? So now negative times negative is going to be positive. 3 times 2 is 6, and over it's going to be 1. 1 times 1 is 1, right? So this subtraction, because of the negative factor here, it changed to an addition down here. Okay, that doesn't matter. So 3 times 8 is 24. 24 divided by 4 is 6. So that's another way of doing this. Alright, so we've done with division and multiplication. And now lastly we have addition and subtraction. So now we've got an addition. There is no subtraction at this step. So 8 plus 6 is 14. And that's the final answer. So that's the order of operations. So first we deal with brackets, then with exponents, and then division and multiplication simultaneously, and then addition and subtraction that can also be done simultaneously. Alright, so that's the lesson. That's all there is to the order of operations. And what you need to do is practice enough questions so that you become comfortable. And we will do practice in 2 videos, this video and the next video. So you know, the key is to practice and become familiar with the negatives, the positives, the exponents, the brackets. So the more practice you do, the better it is for you. So now let's do one example of a substitution. So the question would be substitute and evaluate. So that's what the question would say, substitute and then evaluate. So for example, if we are given xy minus xz, and we're told that x has a value of 2 and y has a value of negative 1 and z has a value of negative 3. So this is the question. So substitute and evaluate. And so the expression is xy minus xz, and we're given the values of x, y, and z. So the first is to substitute. So we go equals. What's the value of x? The value of x is 2. So I'm going to write 2, and I'm going to use brackets around it. The reason is because it's now being multiplied with the value of y. So what's the value of y? The value of y is negative 1, so I'm going to replace y by negative 1. So use brackets, very important to use brackets. So you want to be clear to yourself and to anybody else who is going to look at your work. Then we have subtraction, minus, copy that, and then we have times x, right? So x times z. So what's the value of x? Again, it's 2, and times the value of z. What's the value of z? We're told it is negative 3. So we have substituted. So we're done with the substitution part, and now the second part is to evaluate. So let's evaluate. So, and now when we evaluate, we're going to use our order of operations, so BEDMAS. So first we deal with brackets. So in this question there are no exponents, and it's not necessary that every question is going to have all of these operations. So there is no division in this question, right? So what you have to do is you start with your brackets, and then if there is no that operation in the question, then you just move on to the next operation, right? So here do the brackets. So 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. And now here, so I'm going to keep this minus. And what's 2 times negative 3? 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. Right? So now at the next step I can work out the 2 negatives, so it'll become positive. I could have done all that in one step, but I chose not to. equals -2, so -1, right? There's a factor of 1 outside the bracket. -1 times -6 is +6. And now we collect, right? Simplify. So -2 plus 6, or it simply means 6 take away 2, and the answer is 4. So that's the lesson. So that's one example where we substitute and evaluate. And so basically that's the lesson, order of operations and substitution. So now we're going to do enough practice so that you become comfortable with it. All right, so let's get started with the practice. All right, so we want to find our questions. Okay, so the question would say evaluate. So the first question is, let's say 4 plus 7 plus, actually let's make this minus 3 in brackets times -2 minus 4. So how do we evaluate this? So the first thing we have to do is do the brackets. So we have two brackets being multiplied, right? So there is operation of multiplication here, right? So let's do brackets first. So brackets, so 4 plus 7 is 11. 11 take away 3 is 8. Still keep it in brackets. Now simplify the second bracket, -2 and -4. So when you add -2 and -4, the result is -6. We learned that way back when we were doing addition and subtraction. So you're adding two numbers, one is -2, so 2 arrows facing left, and then you have -4, so that means 4 arrows facing left. Altogether you have 6 arrows facing left, right? So it's -6. So we've dealt with what's inside the brackets, and now we have a multiplication. So 8 times -6 is -48, and that's the answer. All right, so let's do another example. So 2 times -1 cubed. So we're done with this. And then we have a +2 that is being squared, and then we have +1 which is being raised to the exponent 4. So the question is to evaluate, and here now we can, whatever we have learned in the previous tutorials, we can bring in any of that piece in these questions now, right? So I see positives and negatives in this question, but they're there so that we make sure that you understand what is going on. So this minus sign or the plus sign, they don't mean addition or subtraction, right? Because they're inside the brackets. And so it's overall, it's a multiplication, right? So we want to make sure that you understand what the difference is. Okay, so let's do brackets. So brackets and then exponents, and we can do operations simultaneously. So brackets and exponents. So copy the 2. Now what's -1 raised to the exponent 3? So -1 is being raised to an odd exponent, and we learned previously that it's going to give us a negative answer, right? So this is -1. And now +2 squared, so that's simply 2 times 2, so that's 4. I don't need the excess positive sign anymore, right? The whole point is to get rid of all these excess signs, so then we can simplify. +1 to the 4, so 1 raised to any exponent, the answer is always 1. And I'm getting rid of the positive sign. So now it's all multiplication, so 4 numbers are being multiplied, and one of them is negative. So overall the answer is going to be negative. Now 2 times 4 is 8, times 1s will still be 8. So that's the answer, right? Okay. So I don't have a lot of room, so that's why I erase. I know you probably want me to leave it on, but to do the next question, I need more room. Okay, so now let's look at something like this. So we have 2 times -1 times -6 all over 3. So how do we do this? Okay, so we can do brackets first, or in this case the numerator first and then the denominator. So negative times negative is going to be positive. So 2 times 6 is 12, 12 times 1 is 12, and all over 3, and this reduces to 12 divided by 3 is 4, and we're done. Okay, so now next question. So we have negative. So okay, we're done with that. So negative, so 3. Okay, actually I'm going to start from top, so I'm going to erase this. So we have negative 3 times negative 1 squared, negative 2 cubed, all over positive 2. Okay, so first let's deal with brackets and the exponents. So keep the negative, and then we have 3. So negative 1 squared is positive 1, right? So negative times negative is positive. And then negative 2 cubed. Negative 2 cubed is going to be negative 8, because negative times negative times negative, that's odd number of negatives, so it's going to be negative. And then 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. And all over we have a 2. So continue, copy the negative, multiply 3 times negative 8 is going to be negative 24, all over 2, right? So 3 times 8 is 24. And because we have negative in front of the 8, so it's negative 24. And now this is like a factor of negative 1 on the outside, or in front of negative 24 over 2. So negative times negative is going to become positive. So this is positive 24 over 2. And now we can reduce this. 24 divided by 2 is 12. And that's the final answer. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to erase so we can do a couple more examples. So you can always rewind and replay. Okay, so now let's look at something like this. So we have 2 minus 7 squared times negative 1 cubed, all over negative 10. And let's put a positive sign in front here. So alright, simplify. Let's do the brackets first. So 2, I don't really need the positive sign in front, so I'm going to get rid of it right away. So 2 take away 7, that is going to be negative 5 squared, and copy everything else as is for now, all over negative 10. Now negative 5 squared, that becomes positive 25, and then negative 1 cubed becomes negative 1, and all over we have negative 10. So simplify that. So 25 times negative 1 is negative 25, all over negative 10. So now negative divided by negative is going to be positive, right? We learned that earlier. When you multiply two negatives, you get a positive. And the same thing, when you divide negative by a negative, you get positive. So I'll show that in a different color, that the negatives actually cancel each other out. And now I can reduce this, 25 over 10, so 5 goes into both. 5 goes into 25 5 times, and 5 goes into 10 2 times. So the answer is 5 over 2, positive 5 over 2. Okay, so I'll do one more example and then I will wrap up this session. And then in second video, we will do a lot of questions on substitution. Okay, so one question. All right, so let's look at negative 3 times positive 2 cubed times negative 1 to the 5 times 1 minus 4 squared. Okay, so copy negative 3, so bracket positive 2 to the 3, that will become 8. Negative 1 raised to the 5th, it's odd exponent, so this will become negative 1. And then 1 take away 4 is negative 3 squared. And then at the next step, negative 3, copy 8, copy negative 1, negative 3 squared is positive 9. So now negative times negative is going to be positive, and then you multiply 3 times 8 times 9. So 8 times 9 is 72, 72 times 3, 3 times 2 is 6, 3 times 7, 21, so it's positive 216. So that's the answer. So we've done a lot of questions with evaluation. So I'm going to wrap up the video here. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please like or subscribe, and I will see you in the second video. Thank you for watching.